Lineages are the future of Dungeons & Dragons, but race is not completely off the table. I'm talking about the latest playtest document released by Wizards of the Coast, Gothic Lineages, with 3 brand new, technically still unofficial, player character options for Dungeons & Dragons. Let's check them out. Hey, Bob here, and welcome to Bob World Builder, where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together. So hit that subscribe button for new videos every Wednesday under your subscriptions tab. So custom lineages are this new concept introduced in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything at the end of last year, which, like a lot of content in Tasha's, just gives players and DMs the freedom, or really the directive that, hey, you can kind of do whatever you want with this stuff. And this playtest document describes 3 monstrous lineages as an alternative to race in D&D, where you can choose a race and this thing, but its features are going to replace pretty much whatever features you would get from your race. You still get ability score increases, but they're customized. You get 2 points to give to one stat, 1 point to another stat, as long as it doesn't push any of your stats above 20. Languages are up to you as well. You get common and one other of your choice. And the creature type, which was always humanoid in the past, kind of will go along with one of these new ones, where you basically are humanoid and something else. And even though this is playtest material, the document introduces custom lineages as the new thing. Let's check out the text. Following in Tasha's Cauldron's footsteps, the race options in this article and in future D&D books lack the ability score increase trait, the language trait, the alignment trait, and any other trait that is purely cultural. Racial traits henceforth reflect only the physical or magical realities of being a player character who's a member of a particular lineage. Such traits include things like dark vision, a breath weapon, or an innate magical ability. Such traits don't include cultural characteristics, like language or training with a weapon or tool, and the traits also don't include an alignment suggestion, since alignment is a choice for each individual, not a characteristic shared by a lineage. And here's the really big point, so pay attention. Finally, going forward, the term race in D&D refers only to the suite of game features used by player characters. Said features don't have any bearing on monsters and NPCs who are members of the same species or lineage, since monsters and NPCs in D&D don't rely on race or class to function. And as always, DMs are empowered to customize the features of the creatures in their game as they wish. But this idea of race not applying to NPCs was really interesting to me. Does that mean we no longer have dwarf or elf NPCs? I feel like the first document of this type should have been custom lineages for things like elves and dwarves and halflings that have always been part of the game and that players are still going to use for their characters and for NPCs. So while I'm a little bit confused by this last point, overall, I'm really happy with the content in here. Not only is it a good direction for the game, but it's also really awesome, and I'm excited to get into it, so here we go. The Dhampir, if you're familiar with the folklore, are basically half vampires, endlessly tested by a vicious hunger. Of course, these hungers include things like blood and flesh, but there's this cool list with some other ones like cerebral spinal fluid and life energy itself that these characters can be sucking away from others. It also includes this awesome origins table so you can figure out how exactly your character ended up this way, whether it happened in-game or at some point previously to your campaign. And each lineage has these origins, so it will probably be a regular thing, but let's check it out for the Dhampir. You could be the reincarnation of an ancestor who is a vampiric tyrant. You have a pact with a predatory deity, fiend, fae, or spirit that causes you to share their hunger. You survived being attacked by a vampire, but were forever changed. That's actually something that came up in my first homebrew campaign, and I designed my own sort of vampire race for my player. A parasite inhabits your body, you indulge your hunger to sate it. I really like that one. You loved an immortal and were willing to be transformed into a vampire to join them, but tragedy interrupted the transformation. You are a diminished manifestation of an otherworldly being. Slaking your hunger hastens your renewal. You don't know your origins. Alright, that one's kind of a cop-out. Or a radical experiment changed your body, making you reliant on others for vital fluids. These are really great. I'm finding it inspiring for new character ideas as I'm going through it, so I definitely recommend looking at the origins for the other two as well in the document link below. But as for the Dhampir's actual traits, they are humanoid and undead. So here's an example of that double creature type. And in this case, things like spells that would specifically target undead creatures don't work on you because you are a humanoid. I really like how you can choose your size, medium or small. This is something I've always kind of fought for flexibility with in my games. Why can't a dwarf be small? Why can't a halfling be medium? And honestly, I feel like gnomes should be tiny and Goliaths should be large. So this is something that I hope to see a little more flexibility in, but I'm happy for what they've given us here. They're a little bit quick with 35 feet of movement speed, and they have dark vision. Of course, all three of these have dark vision, and pretty much everything in 5e does. And this next spider climb ability is really awesome, but a little bit too awesome for my taste. Let's check it out. You have a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. In addition, at 3rd level, you can move up, down, and across vertical surfaces and upside down along ceilings while leaving your hands free. This is very good and obviously effective because you can still cast spells and wield your weapons, but I feel like it really takes away from that monstrous element of crawling across walls and ceilings. Let me know what you think in the comments. And the vampiric bite trait is a given, but instead of just being able to get some hit points from those bite attacks, you can also use your d4 of damage as a bonus on a next ability check or attack. And this is so cool because it really incentivizes the player to use these traits that are unique to their lineage. The next one, Hexblood, is basically a half-hag. Individuals infused with eldritch magic, fey energy, or mysterious witchcraft. They do have this interesting mark though, where they must wear basically a circlet of some living material, I don't think the material is actually described, that marks them as a Hexblood. And at some point, if the player chooses, or if the DM really rudely chooses, they can have this character become a hag NPC. This lineage makes you humanoid and fey, much like the green hag of D&D. You can choose your size, medium or small. You have 30 feet of movement as per usual, which is interesting that even if you're small, you're gonna have this same speed. Of course, you have dark vision, and you have this new fey resilience feature, which is kind of like what elves used to get, but it doesn't have the tagline of magic not being able to put you asleep. Just advantage against being charmed. You get some spells, disguise self, and hex, and what I really like about this is it lets you choose the spellcasting ability. It's always kind of annoying when there's a cool racial feature that gives you a spell, but then you have to use a certain ability score that you didn't really want to boost for that character. But my favorite trait in here is this next one, and I want to read it word for word. Magic Token. As an action, you can harmlessly pull out one of your nails, a tooth, or a lock of hair. This token is imbued with magic until you finish a long rest. While the token is imbued in this way, you can use an action to send a telepathic message to a creature holding or carrying the token. As long as you are on the same plane of existence and are within 10 miles of it, the message can contain up to 25 words. In addition, while you are within 10 miles of the token, you can use an action to enter a trance for 1 minute, during which you can see and hear from the token as if you were located where it is. While you're using your senses at the token's location, you are blinded and deafened in regard to your own surroundings. Afterward, the token is harmlessly destroyed. That in itself is so cool. Just imagine having your character pluck out a tooth or a nail or rip out some hair, harmlessly, mind you. It's just so visceral and again really adds to this monstrous element of these lineages. And you could pluck out one of these teeth and throw it through a window or down a hallway in a dungeon or through a keyhole or something, so you can see and hear through it to scout out the next area. But when it's destroyed, do you grow a new tooth, or are you limited in the number of teeth and nails that you have? These are important questions, and I want to know what you think down in the comments. And while you're there, remember to like this video if you're enjoying this content. Thanks. And our third one, the Reborn, is basically a zombie with vague memories of their former life. And this is also something that came up in one of my home campaigns, but it was Grace DMing and she designed an undead template for a player character who died. So obviously the Reborn can have some really cool origins, and it's reflected in some of these traits. Like for example, they are humanoid and undead, or a construct. So you could maybe use this to end up being some kind of brain in a jar like character. you're medium or small, or maybe tiny if you're just a brain, but also have 30-foot speed, so yeah, some stuff would have to be tweaked here for that. You have dark vision, and some other traits that are just kind of really similar to the Warforged. Advantage on saves against disease and poison, you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, you don't need sleep, and you just need to rest for 4 hours for a long rest, during which you are basically awake, just motionless. But the big one in this list that I skipped right past is advantage on death saving throws. So I really feel like this lineage should be for when a character dies, but the player really wants to keep playing them, so now you can be this undead version of them, and now it's really hard for them to die again. Now I know I asked for a bunch of comments from you already, but the thing I really want to know is what batch of lineages you think is coming next after these weird monstrous ones. Now remember to subscribe for more updates on the very future of D&D. Thank you all for your support, and keep building.